Most people over 60 think morning fatigue begins in the morning. They assume the problem starts when they open their eyes, when they try to sit up, when their legs feel heavy, when their head feels foggy, when their body seems unwilling to begin the day. But in my experience, that is not where the real problem begins. Because after 60, the way you feel in the morning is often being shaped long before breakfast, sometimes in the first 10 minutes after waking up, sometimes by habits so small and automatic that people never question them. And that is exactly why so many older adults stay stuck. They wake up tired. They blame age. They tell themselves, this is just how mornings feel now. But very often that is not true. Very often the body is not simply declining. It is responding. Responding to what you do immediately after waking. Responding to how you stand, how you hydrate, how you breathe, how you move, how you signal your body that the day has begun. And when those first signals are weak, rushed, or poorly timed, the whole morning can unravel. That is when people begin the day already discouraged, slow to move, slow to think, less steady, less motivated, less confident. And over time, that changes more than energy. It changes behavior. People cancel plans. They avoid morning outings. They stop trusting their balance. They stop trusting their clarity. They begin to live around their fatigue. That is how independence quietly shrinks. As a physician gerontologist specializing in lifestyle medicine, with 25 years of experience working with adults over 60, I have seen this pattern again and again. Good people, disciplined people, people who are trying, and yet they repeat the same morning mistakes because nobody ever explained that after 60, the body needs a better launch, not a harder launch, not a younger launch, a smarter one. So in this video, I'm going to show you 7 morning habits that help restore energy, steadiness, and mental clarity before breakfast. And one of them is so simple that many people will dismiss it immediately. But it may be one of the reasons some older adults feel noticeably better within days when they change it. And stay with me until the later part of this video, because one of the final habits has nothing to do with food, exercise, or supplements. But it may be the one that changes your mornings the most. I remember one patient who told me something I never forgot. She said, "Doctor, I don't wake up ready. I wake up already behind." That is exactly how many adults over 60 live, not in crisis, not severely ill, just beginning each day with resistance. And when that resistance becomes normal, people stop expecting more from their body. But sometimes the body is not asking for more effort. Sometimes it is asking for a different beginning. So as we go through these habits, I want you to ask yourself one honest question. What does the first half hour of my morning actually look like now? Not what it used to look like, not what it should look like, what it really looks like now. Because after 60, the first half hour can shape the next 12 hours more than most people realize. Let's begin with the first habit. It seems almost too simple to matter, but many stronger mornings begin with this one decision. The first habit is one that many people skip without thinking. They wake up. They sit there for a while. They go straight to coffee. Or they start moving through the house without giving the body what it has been missing all night. Water. Now, I'm not talking about forcing down a large amount. I'm talking about a simple, steady signal to the body. The night is over, and recovery is shifting into function. After hours of sleep, the body wakes up naturally a little dry. The mouth feels dry. The head may feel dull. The muscles can feel less responsive. And yet many people ask the body to begin the day before giving it even basic support. Then they say, "I just don't feel right in the morning." That matters. Because after 60, the body often becomes less forgiving of small deficits. What a younger body brushed off in silence, an older body may feel as heaviness, fogginess, or sluggishness. I've had many older patients tell me they don't feel fully awake until much later in the morning. And when we walk through their routine, one pattern keeps appearing. They do not hydrate early. They delay it. They forget it. Or they replace it with coffee immediately. Now, coffee has its place. This is not about fear. It is about sequence. Because one of the simplest ways to help the body feel more stable in the morning is to begin with water before stimulation. Think of it this way. All night long, your body has been breathing, regulating temperature, and using fluid without replacing it. Then morning comes, and instead of restoring that balance, many people go straight into motion or caffeine. That is not always a dramatic mistake, but repeated every day, it can contribute to a morning that feels slower than it needs to be. And this is where many people get confused. They think, "I need coffee to feel human." Sometimes what they actually need first is water, not because water is magic, but because the body functions better when it receives the basics in the right order. A simple glass of water after waking can help many people feel clearer, steadier, and less heavy before breakfast even begins. Not instantly in every case, not dramatically, but noticeably. And after 60, noticeable matters. Because mornings are not won by intensity, they are won by reducing friction. So before reaching for coffee tomorrow, try asking a different question. What does my body need first? Stimulation or support? Because for many older adults, that one change already improves how the morning feels. And now we come to a second habit that seems healthy on the surface, but when done the wrong way, it actually makes mornings harder instead of easier. The next two habits often happen together. The first is getting up too fast. The second is becoming too still too early. Let's start with standing up too quickly. Many adults over 60 wake up and try to move as if the body should respond instantly. They swing their legs over the bed. Stand up fast. Start walking immediately. And when they feel lightheaded, stiff, or unsteady, they blame age. But often the issue is not just age. It is transition. After sleep, the body needs a moment to adjust. Blood pressure shifts. Balance recalibrates. Muscles and joints need a few seconds to wake up into movement. And when that transition is rushed, the morning begins with instability. That can look like dizziness, a heavy head, a faint feeling, a moment of imbalance, a sense that the body is not fully online yet. These are exactly the kinds of small morning experiences that chip away at confidence over time. Now, the opposite mistake comes right after. Some people do not rush into motion. They rush into stillness. They get up, then sit in one place for too long, at the table, in a chair, in front of the television, or simply staying inactive while the body remains stiff. This creates another problem, because the body after 60 usually does not respond well to abrupt inactivity first thing in the morning. It responds better to gentle awakening, not exercise, not strain, just simple movement that tells the system, we are beginning. I tell many older adults to think in terms of flow, not force. Sit up slowly. Pause. Stand carefully. Take a few steps. Move the shoulders. Move the ankles. Let the body know what is happening. Then continue. That sequence matters more than people realize. I once worked with a man who insisted he felt old only in the first 30 minutes of the day. That was how he described it. After that, I'm more or less myself. But first thing in the morning, I feel 20 years older. And when we examined what he was doing, the pattern was obvious. He stood too fast. Then he sat too long. Then he complained that his body felt unreliable. Once we changed that morning transition, the first part of his day became less dramatic. Not because he became younger, but because he stopped fighting the body during its most vulnerable transition. This matters because after 60, the first steps of the day are not trivial. They influence balance, confidence, willingness to move, and even mood. So tomorrow morning, notice this. Do you give your body a transition, or do you demand performance before it is ready? Because the way you rise shapes the way your morning unfolds. And now we come to a patient story that changed the way one woman understood her mornings completely. I remember one patient very clearly. She was 72, organized, thoughtful, the kind of person who was doing many things right. She cared about her health. She tried to eat sensibly. She kept appointments. She was not careless with her life. But every morning felt difficult, not dramatic, not dangerous, just discouraging. She told me, "Doctor, I wake up already behind my day." That sentence stayed with me because it captured something many older adults feel but struggle to describe. They are not simply tired. They are delayed. Their body does not seem to start when the day starts. She described her mornings the same way each time. Heavy legs, cloudy mind, no appetite at first, a strange hesitation to move too much. And by the time she finally felt more like herself, half the morning was already gone. So naturally, she believed the explanation was simple. I guess this is just age. But when we looked closely, her morning was working against her from the moment it began. She stayed in bed too long after waking, then stood quickly, then sat with coffee and no water, then moved very little for the first hour. And because she felt slow, she became even less active. That is how a pattern traps people. The body feels bad, so the person responds in a way that makes the pattern worse. Then the worst pattern becomes the new normal. What changed her life was not some dramatic intervention. We did not rebuild everything. We changed the opening sequence of her morning. Water first, a slower transition out of bed, a few minutes of gentle movement, light exposure early. And one more habit I'll mention in a moment because that one surprised her most. Within a few weeks, she told me something very different. I don't feel like I'm chasing my body every morning anymore. That is the goal, not perfection. not endless energy, not pretending aging does not exist. The goal is to stop starting each day in conflict with your own body. Because once mornings improve, many other things improve with them. Confidence improves, movement improves, motivation improves, and people become more willing to live again instead of waiting to feel ready. And here is what struck her the most. The biggest change did not come from a pill. It did not come from a hard workout. It came from how she handled the first signals of the day. That is why this matters. Small habits are not small when they happen every morning. And now we come to one of the most powerful signals of all. Because the next habit helps the body understand very quickly that the night is over and the day has begun. The next two habits work beautifully together. Early light and light movement before breakfast. Now let's start with light. Many older adults wake up and remain in dim indoor light for too long. Curtains stay closed. The room stays soft and dark. The body stays in a half-awake state longer than necessary. And then people say, "I just don't feel fully awake until much later." That is not surprising, because light is one of the strongest timing signals the body receives. It tells the brain, the night is over now. Wakefulness begins now. Energy should start rising now. When that signal comes late, the body can remain sluggish longer than it needs to. You do not need anything extreme. Open the curtains. Stand near the window. Step outside briefly if possible. Let morning light reach the eyes early. This is not about staring at the sun. It is about letting the body receive a clear daytime signal. Now pair that with gentle movement. Not exercise in the intimidating sense. Not sweating. Not strain. Just movement before the day settles into sitting. A short walk through the house. Gentle shoulder rolls. A few stretches. A few slow steps outdoors. Anything that creates circulation and tells the muscles, joints, and brain, we are in motion now. This matters because many older adults make the mistake of waiting to feel energetic before they move. But often, they begin to feel more energetic because they moved. That order changes everything. I tell patients all the time, do not wait for the body to invite you. Sometimes you need to guide it. And this is where many people get caught. They believe mornings should begin passively. Sit first, wait first, wake up later. But after 60, the body often responds much better to an active but gentle start. Light, movement, flow. Those signals restore more than energy. They improve steadiness. They reduce stiffness. They improve mood. They help the body feel less stuck. I once had a patient tell me, "I thought I needed more rest in the morning. What I actually needed was a better wake-up." That is exactly right. Because many poor mornings are not caused by a lack of sleep alone. They are caused by a weak transition into wakefulness. So if your mornings often feel slow, cloudy, or heavy, do not ask only how long you slept. Ask how clearly you told your body the day had begun. And now we come to a habit that many people think is helping their morning, but very often it is making their energy less stable instead. The next habit is one of the most common morning patterns I see. Coffee first, something quick and sugary later, or sometimes nothing nourishing at all. A piece of toast, a pastry, sweet cereal, just coffee, or a rushed breakfast that gives the body stimulation, but not stability. And then people wonder why the morning starts fast and collapses early. This is especially common after 60, because many older adults do not wake up with strong hunger, or they are used to keeping breakfast light, or they think coffee is enough to get going. But caffeine without support can create a very uneven beginning. It may wake the mind quickly, while the body remains undersupported. And when quick carbohydrates follow, energy often rises quickly and then drops. That is when people describe a morning crash, a shaky feeling, irritability, fog returning, or a surprising level of fatigue before the day is even properly underway. This does not mean breakfast must be large. It means it should be steadier. Protein matters. Fiber matters. Sequence matters. Coffee is not the enemy. But coffee on an empty, underhydrated body is often not the strong start people think it is. What helps many older adults is a more stable morning order. Water first, movement, light, then coffee with or after something supportive. A boiled egg, Greek yogurt, nuts, oatmeal with protein. Something that gives the body substance, not just stimulation. Because after 60, a better morning is rarely built on quick spikes. It is built on steadiness. This is one of the biggest differences between younger bodies and older ones. Younger bodies often tolerate chaotic mornings better. Older bodies usually reward rhythm, and that is why some people feel dramatically better not because they did more, but because they stopped sending mixed signals. I remember one man who told me, "My coffee isn't working like it used to," and I told him, That may be because you're asking coffee to do a job breakfast should be helping with. That changed the way he saw his entire morning. So ask yourself something very honestly. Am I starting the day with support or just stimulation? Because one gives temporary lift, the other gives usable energy. And now we come to the final habit. It may be the quietest one, the least dramatic one. And yet for many adults over 60, it becomes the difference between dragging into the day and entering it with purpose. The final habit is not about food, not about coffee, not about exercise, not even about sleep. It is about the emotional tone of the first minutes of the day. Many older adults begin the morning in mental noise. They check problems immediately. They think about appointments, bills, family stress, health worries, everything unfinished, everything uncertain. And before the body has even properly started moving, the mind is already carrying pressure. That matters more than people realize, because the nervous system listens to the way the day begins. If the first signal is tension, urgency, or mental overload, the whole body tends to follow that pattern. Muscles stay tighter, breathing stays shallower, patience drops, clarity weakens, and the person feels unsettled before breakfast even begins. This is why a calmer opening matters. Not a perfect morning, not a fantasy routine, just a cleaner one. A few quiet breaths, a window opened, a short pause before checking the world, a simple sentence repeated each morning, a moment of prayer, a moment of gratitude, a written plan for the day instead of letting the mind scatter in every direction. Something that tells the body, we are beginning steadily. Because after 60, morning energy is not only physical, it is also nervous system energy. And when the mind starts in chaos, the body pays for it. This is one of the most overlooked reasons people feel tired before breakfast. They are not only physically waking up, they are emotionally bracing, and that kind of bracing drains energy fast. So if you want better mornings, do not only ask what you are eating, ask how you are entering the day. Now let's bring everything together. The goal is not to change your entire life tomorrow morning. The goal is to change one part of your launch. Water first. Rise more slowly. Move gently. Get morning light. Avoid starting with only caffeine and quick sugar, and protect the emotional tone of your first minutes. That is how stronger mornings are built after 60. Not through force, not through punishment, not through pretending age does not matter, but through better signals. Because sometimes the body is not refusing the day. Sometimes it simply has not been guided into it well. So tonight, do one thing before bed. Decide which one morning habit you will change first. Just one. Because one repeated improvement is far more powerful than a perfect plan you never follow. And in the next video, I'll show you 7 afternoon habits after 60 that quietly determine how strong, steady, and clear you still feel by evening. That matters more than most people think. Because after 60, energy is not something you either have or don't have. Very often it is something you build, one daily pattern at a time.